Hey guys, it's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome back to Summerbash 2017. And this time I'm going to bash a movie right in the face. Don't worry, Sean, it's not X-Men Apocalypse. I will get to that though. This is a 2010 remake that was not needed. I don't want to hear in the comment section this is better than the original. This movie is a summer movie. I don't know why it made money. It was pointless. It is the 2010 remake of The Karate Kid. Why was this made? Oh, for money. Yeah, but it's not even karate. Jaden Smith in this movie learns kung fu. It should have been called Kung Fu Kid. That way it could distinguish itself different from the original, which is superior. This movie got a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of like a fresh, but not a certified fresh. And it got good box office, and it was a huge hit, and some people liked it. I don't. I saw this movie last summer and I was bored out of my freaking skull. The original, this is what it got right. It was a simple story. You know, a new kid comes to California and he gets his ass kicked by a bunch of guys. He learns karate from an old man that, you know, he does different methods on how to do it. Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio, that dynamic worked in the first two films and even some parts of part three. But good God, the franchise went to shit after three because you had the next Karate Kid, which had Hilary Swank before she was an Oscar winner, and that was shit. And then you had this remake. This remake could not touch the original. The original is so good. Yes, the original is a long movie, but it worked, and it didn't feel long. This movie feels way too long. Let me say this. This Karate Kid remake, you're not Pirates of the Caribbean. You don't need to be over 2 hours long. This movie drags for so freaking long. It's 20 minutes too long. This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes, 140 minutes. I'm like, why? This is not a freaking martial arts film from Asia that's long. Yeah, in this version, instead of in California, Jaden goes to China to go to, you know, a new life over there because his mom, played by Taraji J. Henson, she takes him over there to China. He's like, I hate this place. I want to go home. He's whining like a bitch. He's worse than Anakin Skywalker in episode 1. Jaden Smith is not a good actor. His father, Will, great actor. Jada, great actress. But he can't act, and his sister, she's there. Willow Smith. I'm sorry. This kid cannot carry this movie. Jackie Chan is carrying him through the whole freaking movie once he gets his ass kicked by a bunch of Asian kids. And they're not just fighters. These kids are killers. Like, if their master is so corrupted that in a split second they could kill somebody with their bare hands, and that's just scary. This movie is just, it's mean-spirited compared to the original. It doesn't have that awesome kick-ass soundtrack that the 80s film has. You're the best around. This one is not. It's just a mediocre, you know, it's Asian music, which is fine. I love Asian culture, but it didn't work for this movie. Considering it's not karate, it's kung fu. Jackie Chan is the only good thing in this movie. One of the only good things. He's good. The cinematography is gorgeous. Like, some shots of China look great, and I think the score is okay. And some of the fight scenes are there mostly with Jackie Chan because he's a freaking legend. I mean, his backstory about what happened to his family when he was younger and they died in an accident. I get it. Emotion, that worked because in Pat Morita's version in Karate Kid, the original, they didn't do that for his storyline. But here, that's the only emotion I got out of the movie. When Jaden gets his ass kicked and he goes to Jackie, says like, "What happened to I?" And she's like, "Oh, I ran into a door or something like that." I'm like, really? Ran into a pole? I'm like, yeah, you're gonna lie to Jackie Chan. Why? That's being, you know, unfreaking trustworthy, and that's not cool. And I don't buy Jaden in the fight scenes. When he's doing these flips and shit, like he's in the Matrix, I'm like, what is this? You're not a freaking Kung Fu master. You're not. You can't learn Kung Fu in a couple weeks or a couple months and then learn it like you know it in your whole life. It's ridiculous. And the movie's just, it drags on and on. It has too many subplots. You have the subplot with his mom and her freaking job, which I didn't care about. You have the subplot with him and the Asian girl that kind of, you know, have a cute little romance, but it's padding. You have the subplot with the freaking kids that they're beating him up every time he's in school. They're like, "You want to fight?" And they're beating him up. And I'm like, this is too much. In the original, we got it. Ralph Macchio gets his ass kicked, but he learns kung fu, karate, and then he wins a tournament. Here, it's done this. It's the same freaking thing. It's just like Beauty and the Beast 2017. I've already seen this done better. I'm sorry, nostalgia critic. The remake is not better than the original. Ralph Macchio's way better. He's more likable, more relatable as a teenage kid in California, and I like him and Pat Morita better than Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. Jaden can't act. Have you seen After Earth? I am not a coward. You're the coward. I'm like, God, you suck so badly. Will Smith is so much better than you. He was giving a performance in Suicide Squad while you were sucking with your thumb doing some bullshit with Justin Bieber or whatever. I don't know. But Jaden is just not a good actor. He cannot carry this movie. His mom is okay because she actually got an Oscar nomination. But she's wasted in the movie. She doesn't have much to do. She's just there to be a mom. That's it. Also, the film just in the middle, when they're going up the freaking stairs and up the mountains, I'm like, God, this is taking too long. It reminded me of that James Bond movie that I can't stand, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's just boring and bloated and so long. I'm like, this movie's longer than The Amazing Spider-Man. How? It doesn't have a lot of CGI. It's mostly just Jaden and the location of China and Jackie Chan's paycheck and the freaking cast, and that's it. And some of the fight scenes have some wire fu or whatever. But there's no CGI in this movie. There's no like CGI animals or dragons or nothing. No, there's like a puppet show, but it's all practically done. I can give them credit for that. But this movie's just boring. It's boring. I was like, when is this movie going to end? When they got to the last fight scene and Jada's doing this Matrix shit, I'm like, just end. Please, end. And then it was over and I'm like, oh, thank God. I never have to watch that movie again. This is a remake that is just completely unnecessary. The original is so good. It's got an awesome soundtrack, a great cast. You know, there is no Kyle. Not Kyle Reese? That's Terminator. John Kreese. There's no John Kreese in this movie. Martin Cove. He's so over the top. The enemy deserves no mercy. That's awesome. This Asian guy, he looks like he's gonna kill somebody, and I'm like, yeah. There's a difference between not showing mercy and being a cold-hearted killer. Just the look on his face is it's too much. And I didn't want to read subtitles. I can see a martial arts flick from the 70s if I want to do that. Here, no. It's really forced. It doesn't feel like a kid's movie. This is a bad kid's movie because it's PG, but Jaden gets his ass kicked so hard it should have been PG-13. The original was PG, but it deserved it because it was the 80s. It was a different time. PG-13 wasn't around yet when this movie came out. It was just about to come out in Red Dawn, but you know, it's an inferior remake. Just see the original. I can watch the original because it's classic. Yes, they curse in it. Yes, it's long, but it doesn't feel long. This one does because they pad it out and pad it out and pad it out. And I'm like, you're not Pirates of the Caribbean. You're not Chronicles of Narnia. You're not Harry Potter. If you're not going to tell me a compelling story that's different, I have nothing to say to you. This reminded me why I don't like recent remakes, because they just do the same thing with different actors and they change the location. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Like I said, if I want to watch an Asian martial arts flick, I'll just watch something with Jackie Chan that he did back in the day, or I'll watch a movie with Bruce Lee, or I'll watch a freaking movie with Mark Dacascos, or with freaking Sonny Chiba. I can watch plenty. I don't need this half-hearted freaking PG bullshit for kids. There's a reason the sequel hasn't been made yet. Because the first one is so forgettable. That's the main point I want to say about this movie. It's forgettable. You see it once, you forget you even saw it the next day. The original, I still remember that movie. I still remember the crane kick. I still remember the freaking bonsai tree. I still remember the awesome score. And John Avildsen, rest in peace, sir. He directed Rocky, and he directed the first 3 films. He did a great job with the first 2, at least. His heart was into it. He shot it very well, and he knew when to cut the movie. He didn't make the movie 3 hours long. Because this remake, like I said, the cinematography is good. Jackie Chan is good in the film, and there's some little things here. Some of the fight scenes are okay, but it's not worth watching it for 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's just too long. And also, yeah, the training method, instead of wax on, wax off, he says, take the jacket off, put it back on, take the jacket off, put it back on. That guy's so repetitive. And also, he's like touching his arms, and it's like, Jackie Chan's trying. He really is with this weak material, but it's just inferior. It's like he's just trying to replace Pat Morita, and I don't want that. I liked his movies. I liked the Rush Hour films, and Skip Trace was a nice surprise from last year. But this movie it gives him nothing to work with. It's boring, and a movie list like this should not be boring. I'm sorry, but this is a bash right in the face. It came out in June of 2010. I wish it flopped, so we would never see a sequel, because you can't do better than the original. I'm sorry. The original is a classic 80s movie that people were inspired by. This remake, forgettable crap. Forgettable. Is it better than 3 and 4? Yes, because it's shot well and it doesn't have any cartoonish characters like in 3 and 4, but it's still a piece of shit. It's still boring. It's still tedious. It's still a complete lackluster remake. And the fact that it made money just like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake proves that sometimes audiences don't choose their movies wisely. Just saying. I'd rather see anything be remade from a movie that was bad. A bad movie remade and is done better works. Dredd was kind of a remake to Judge Dredd. It was way better than the Stallone movie. Just saying. But some remakes are abysmal, like Psycho. Didn't improve on the original. It's in color. Who cares? It's inferior. This remake is completely useless. We don't need this. I'd rather just watch the first 2 Karate Kid films, because it's actually karate, not kung fu. And I buy Ralph Macchio. Even though he's not a martial artist, he tried. And he worked his ass off in those first 2 films. When they go to Japan in the second one is badass, and it gets really brutal. Jaden gets his ass kicked, and his ass kicked, and his ass kicked, and he's a whiny bitch throughout the whole freaking movie. And then when he does win at the end, I'm like, I don't care. I don't like your character. He's not, granted, he's a different character. He's just a black version of, I didn't want to bring race into this, but yeah, he's basically a black Ralph Macchio, just without his charm, and his character is not named Daniel LaRusso. It's another character. And I'm like, I don't care. It's still boring. If I've seen it done better before, I don't want to see it done again. Just sorry. That's why Beauty and the Beast 2017 didn't wow me. Because like I said, the 91 film is better. You can't do better than a classic. And this movie is living proof of that. But screw the Karate Kid remake. It can kiss my ass. I think it's one of the most boring remakes I've ever seen. Because at least other remakes are not this insultingly long. Yeah. Psycho was horrible, but it's not 2 hours and 20 minutes. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake is horrible. I've heard terrible things. It's not this long. Even Fembusters, and that's a remake of the 1984 Ghostbusters, it's not this long. Even with the extended cut, it's like, what, 10 minutes longer? Whatever. This movie sucks. I hate this movie. I threw it away. I had it on DVD last year. I said, no, this movie sucks. I'm never going to watch it again. It's boring. I will never say never. That song from Justin Bieber is the only good song in the movie. There, I said it. The only good song. I will never say never, because I'm not a douchebag back then. I will sometimes forever. That's a good song, but that was before Bieber became a douche nozzle and got tattoos and is drinking and acts like the world is mine. I'm like, fuck you, Justin Bieber. You and your dumb Canadian ass making your country look bad. You were only cute in the late 2000s, and by 2011 I was already tired of you. After his documentary that he did, I was like, this kid needs to go back home and leave Americans alone. But anyway, this is not about him. This movie sucks. Don't see the Karate Kid remake. If you've seen the original, stick with that, or stick with the second one. You don't need this. This movie is just a half-assed version of the original and the second one. And it's boring, incredibly boring. This movie easily could have been, if you chopped up all the fat, an hour and 45 minutes would have been a lot more smoother. It would have made the pacing a lot smoother, and I wouldn't have to sit through this boring, freaking long, unnecessary remake. But hey, it's a summer movie. It got bashed. I will see you guys in the next review. Later.